This is just called VW Heaven, and it just looks like Volkswagen models that you can't do anything with. I don't know what these things are floating. I have no idea what that is. Like, does that make it heaven or something? Here's a Euro van. It's like the Weekender edition. It's got like a bed in the back. And you just clip right through the van. So this is the Volkswagen Type 2, the VW bus, the VW van, the Volkswagen station wagon, the combi, the bully, whatever you want to call it. But yes, I actually own one of these. I have a 1975 camper VW van or bus or whatever, and yeah, I absolutely love these things. This one is actually called the Type 2C, which was made for the South American market because it has this black box in the front, which is actually for the radiator, because they took out the air-cooled motor and they put in an inline 4-cylinder water-cooled engine, which I think was out of like the Golf or the Rabbit or something. I don't know. It was just a little water-cooled 4-cylinder engine. And we never, got that. But that is really cool. And yeah, they made these things up till 2013. That is insane. And it's, I absolutely would love to see this still being made today. But I think the only thing that stopped it was that they couldn't get the ABS, or it was going to be too much money to install ABS, because in Brazil, it was becoming mandatory for all vehicles to have ABS braking systems in them, so that's what axed it. Like, out of all the things, that was it. But yeah, that's the Type 2, and I absolutely love it. And there's another one right here, this blue one. Yeah, so this is the late 60s, early 70s model, because it's got the turn signals at the bottom instead of up near the air vent. Because if you look over on the other one, see, they're up high. They did that, I think, in 74, 73. I can't remember. But the one I have, the 75, it has the turn signals up in the front. But the early 60s ones had the turn signals down the bottom. It had a little tiny, skinnier bumper with a little step on the side there. And also the air vents in the back are slightly smaller. But yeah. But the overall shape of this thing had not changed. Like, it's still a bus, and it was 2013. That's insane. The Volkswagen Vanagon, there was 2 different versions of this. They made an air-cooled one from 1980 to I think 82, and then 83 they switched over to a water-cooled. So you see there's that little grill on the bottom. That's the water-cooled version. The one that was air-cooled, it still had the grill on the top, but that bottom one was missing. And also, it's got the square headlights. They did that, I think, in 85 or something, or 86. They switched over to square headlights and got rid of the had round circle headlights. I also owned one of these at one point back in high school, and back then, you could get a Vanagon for nothing. I mean, they were just busted, dead Vanagons in people's backyards, like in the driveways. People were happy for you to take a Vanagon away and get it off their hands, because it was hard to get the parts at the time. The parts were expensive, and it was just a nightmare. But I absolutely loved it, and I had an 85, I think it was 86 or 85 Vanagon. It was just turd brown. It wasn't even a camper. It was just a regular van with the seats in it, and people thought I was nuts to have that. But I absolutely loved that van. But again, I just sold it, and I'm kicking myself today why I sold that van. I should have kept that. But this is the Volkswagen Euro van. This is they also gave this van a facelift, I think in 94, 95. The earlier ones had these smaller square lights and this big metal piece in the bottom. I never actually owned one of these. I never drove one. I never ridden in one, so I have no idea The only thing I know about these is if you have an automatic, and I think a lot of them are automatics, the automatic transmissions just blow up on these things. And it's pretty crazy because they also made like motorhomes out of these. They made Class B motorhomes using Euro vans, and I'm like, the thing could barely move itself with the transmission it was in it, and then they put on this giant motorhome piece, and of course, yeah, the transmissions are going to blow up because these are front-wheel drive, front engine. It's not like the Vanagon or the bus. But I heard the stick shift ones though are really good. And when I went to Germany and when I went there for EF, like these things are everywhere. They're like, they use these as work trucks, and it's just like, it's just a van over there. And it's just so weird because in the US, these things are like really iffy, and like nobody wants to work on them, and they get junked half the time because they're such a pain in the ass. And over there they're like, this is a great van, and I'm like, I don't know what you're smoking, because in the US this thing's like Oh, I absolutely love these. This is the split window VW bus, the first generation ones, and they also had revisions. The earlier ones had, I think, 21 windows on the top, and then they made another one that was like an 18 window, or I forget. They had windows in the roof, and it looked really, really fancy, and they stopped making those. But the ones with the windows in the roof, they go for like $90,000 or something crazy like that. And even the regular ones, the value of these things are going through the roof. Like, you can't even touch these. Like, a rotted shell of one goes for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So like, as much as I love VW buses, and I would love to get one of these, it's impossible. Like, they're so expensive now. It's just like, forget it. And even the one I own, the Type 2, the prices on those are going through the roof, which is kind of weird, but I don't know. We did not get a T3 Class C motorhome. If we did in the United States, I would absolutely buy one of these in a heartbeat. That thing is insane looking. I can only imagine how slow it is. Like, that's got to be, forget it. Like, it's the van itself is slow, and then have all that crap on it. Oh my god. Well, this is another one of my dream vans. This is the Type 2 single cab, and these are untouchable. Like, they are gold now if you can find one of these. And even in the bottom there's like this little compartments and stuff like inside. It's a really cool thing to have, and I'd love to get one. And like, again, a rusted out complete restoration one goes for thousands of dollars. It's insane. Ooh, this is kinda ish like the one I have, but this is a split window one. It's an earlier one, and the top goes like to the driver's side. Most of them go from the back or from the front, but there were different manufacturers of the camper equipment that went into the VW buses. So like the mainstream one was Westphalia. I think that's how you say it, but that's the one I have, is the Westphalia, and if you went to a Volkswagen dealership, that's what they had. But there was other companies, and this one was called a Dormomobile, I think, a Dormomobile, and their top went like this, and underneath there a little cot flipped over, and you could sleep up in the top there. But yeah, there was a handful of them, but it's always interesting to see the configurations and stuff like within the van like that. It's really awesome. Another thing that's really cool with the split window vans is in other countries, like, so in the United States, they stopped selling the split window and started selling the bay window. And like, I think in South Africa and Brazil, they still made the split window front, but then it had the back of the newer van attached to it. So it was like this like mishmash of like the new back and then like the old front, and like the United States never got this. And like, and if you don't really know about VW buses, like, you just look at it and go, oh, it's a bus. But like, there are so many like little weird variations that they made of the bus, And when you do see one, it looks completely normal for a bus, and it's like, but if you know your Volkswagens, you're like, oh, that is like a South African or a Brazilian like split window bus from like 1970 that they didn't make in the United States. So like there is like so much Volkswagen stuff. Like VW people, like air-cooled VW people are nuts like this. Like me and KG will just go back and forth talking about like every little change and stuff between VW, the Beetles, and the buses. It's insane. It's like, I absolutely love it. There it is. The Type 1 air-cooled engine. It belongs up on a pedestal. Like I absolutely love this engine. They're so easy to take apart. You can get every single part for them. They are dirt cheap. You can build it yourself. It's like a Tinker toy. Like it's insane. There's no head gasket. There's no timing chain. There's no coolant. There's not even an oil filter. There's a strainer that you can just rinse out and put it back in the car. Like, it's insane. I absolutely love the Type 1 dual port 1600. Like, it's a perfect engine. It absolutely is. I love it. And I've taken these things apart. I've put them in cars. I pulled them out of cars. I got free ones out of people's backyards and just put them into cars, and they run. And it's just like, it's insane. It's insane how much abuse this engine can take. It's even overbuilt. Like, the engine is like this wide, and it's got like 4 main bearings in it that it's overbuilt. Like, it's built. That's why, like, some of these, you can soup them up and get like 200 horsepower out of this thing, but it's built for like, to put out 60. Like, that's why these things just run and run and run and run. It's like, they're so overbuilt, but yet so simple. Like, it's just, I love the Type 1 engine. It's weird. This place is called Volkswagen Heaven, and they only have one Beetle, and the model is like, it's just, that's it? That's the only one they had? I mean, the Beetle's kind of the big one. That's the one that kind of made them, you know? You think they'd have a couple more Beetles in here. I mean, I like that they have a lot of buses, because I love VW buses. That's totally cool with me, and I guess they're the same way, but you gotta have some more love for the Beetle. Like, they should have some more Beetles in here. I also own a 1974 Volkswagen Super Beetle, and if you follow me on Twitter, a couple of years ago, I completely took the whole car apart, stripped everything down to bare metal, and just rebuilt the whole car. Yeah, I love that car. That car is so cool. And that was actually, like, that's what got me hooked on Volkswagens. I always, since I was a little kid, I mean, I always wanted like a DeLorean, but that was like a pipe dream, you know? That was like, forget it. That's insane. I'm never going to get one. But I managed to get one. But the thing that I really wanted that was, like, in my mind, that was obtainable was a Volkswagen Beetle, and I always wanted a Beetle. I saw Herbie and stuff as a kid, and that was a fun movie, and like the neighbor down the street had a Beetle, and it was just like, oh my god, I want to get one of those. And yeah, so my first Volkswagen was a 1968 just standard Type 1 Volkswagen Beetle, and that's what I learned on. That's how I just took it apart and figured out how the thing worked, and yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. Yeah, so that's Volkswagen Heaven on VRChat. I have no idea if it's going to be updated or if it's someone's working on it. I have no idea, but it's here if you want to check it out.